Hello and welcome back. So in this session we're going to be looking at the fundamentals of mixing. So mixing is something that you get better at over time as you get better at listening. And one of the most important things about mixing is, well, the purpose of mixing is to get your song to sound good across any sound system, right? I'm sure you've experienced that before, where you've made a song that sounds amazing at home, and when you listen in the car or you listen in the club or whatever, it just doesn't sound right. It sounds unbalanced. Most of the time you'll have too much bass. Because you're used to hearing a lot of bass come out of a club sound system, whereas at home you're not going to have like giant 18-inch subwoofers, so you're not going to hear a lot of those frequencies. But if you make them too loud at home, when you take them into the club, the tune's going to have too much bass. So yeah, we're going to have a look at this one step at a time. So first step is just to get a general decent volume balance. I'm just working with one of Gabe's projects that he made. So let's just have a listen here in the middle. Also, a good little trick for this is if you have the volume down low, it's easier to get the volume balance right. So I'm going to turn it down low on my headphones. Yeah, to me, the vocal's too loud, so I'm just going to turn this down a little. Cool. These sounds here, we're perceiving them to be too loud, but I don't think they really are. I think that they're just too wide. So, back when you learn about chorus and detuning, things can be a bit too wide. And when they're too wide, you get something called phase cancellation. What this means is that if you ever listen to your music on a mono system, and some festivals are set up like this, your left and your right track, if they're tuned a bit differently, then they will cancel out when you take them back to mono. So this sound here is really wide. So at the moment, it's at this loudness. If I put it to mono, the loudness of that will reduce a little bit. The other thing about things being too wide is that they sound disconnected and a little unnatural. So in this case, you can just put the utility on, just reduce the width of it. And to me, that sounds great. Alright, it looks like Gabe's already done a little bit of EQing on this. Yeah. Cool. That's a bit nice, I like that, I think. With everything. Cool. Okay, let's check everything else. I think the drums are right. Yeah, I think that's fine. They sound really good, actually. Cool. Yeah. So, for phase cancellation, we just touched on that before. If you put a utility on the master, click mono, and then click on reverse phase, you can hear everything that's out of phase on the song. Now, this will mean that the stuff that's out of phase, you'll lose that volume when you take your system to mono, which could be, at a festival setup, for example. So, as long as it's only about 30% as a guess of the original volume, if it drops by like 30% or less, it's okay. See, this guitar's quite loud through there. So let's have a little guess at this. Yeah, that's probably a little bit too wide for me. Okay, I can see he's put some stuff on here that's made it a bit wider, but that's cool. Let's just reduce that width a bit. That should sound a bit more together now. Alright, great. Let's see if anything else pops out really loud. Yeah, these. Yeah, cool. So this can be the same thing. Utility on, reduce the width a bit. Okay, nothing else is popping out for me at the moment. So yeah, just went through that quick. Can't see here any other problems. So I think that's fine now. Now we can take this away. Alright, now the next thing you want to do is if you've got frequencies that conflict or things that need to be rebalanced or brighter, you can do that. Let's see what we got. Man, this EQ is not doing very much. I'd probably just lift this up about here, but... And we can probably turn it down a little. I also think it's a little bit annoying on the left there. It should be in the middle. I kind of feel like that could be wider. So this one's a bit more mono, this one's a bit wider now. That means we're getting a bit more space around them. Yeah, that's cool. Sweet. I feel like this one doesn't have to be EQ'd. So that's totally cool. What do we got here? That one's good too. So it's just good sound choice that Gabe's done here. And the vocals are already quite bright. So usually you would lift and balance the vocal up like that a little bit. But in this case, like Gabe's used basically a pro acapella and it sounds really good already. So that's just not needed. Let's check this one. Oh, it's pretty subtle, that one. So I think that's fine. Effects group. The effects probably can be EQ'd a little, just to make sure that they're not interfering with the bass. So that should do that. Cool. So that's about it for that. If there is any elements on your track where the volume goes up and down too much, you can compress them a bit. On this one, I didn't really hear any of that, so we can do compression on the master later to glue things together. So maybe the bass might potentially need it. Oh yeah. Yeah, it's got compression on it, side chaining to the kick. So you guys have learnt about that already, which is good. Tell you what, we're going to do our group processing now. So there's something called Drum Bus if you've got Ableton Full Edition. The suite. So we can put that on. And this can add like compression and distortion. Generally you find a setting that sounds cool. Like for this kind of genre, everything's pretty compressed, so that's probably a good setting. And then we just turn it up a little bit. And that should be enough. Cool. It's also a little bit louder, so I'm just going to make sure it ends up being about the same loudness as before. We've got negative 7.26. Oh no, it's about 8.59. Yeah, let's turn this down a little. Give it a little more. Cool, very subtle stuff, but that will be doing its thing. Crunch is going to add a little bit more mid-range. Cool, that's good for me. Let's do it to the drums. This is cool because it'll thicken everything up. So we'll just do the same thing, just turn this down a bit. Tell you what, we'll do it this way. So I'm just going to put it in a group and just reduce its volume. That sounds about the same to me. Cool, so that's going to thicken that right up, which is great. Tell you what, we will do a bit of compression on the vocals. All we do is just drop the threshold like that, so it just chops off the loudest parts. Then if you want it to sound a little more natural, just turn down the dry wet. Easy, done. Alright. Another thing you can do is you can pan your elements. I'm not sure if this stuff is panned yet. But anything sitting at the same range playing at the same time, you can pan it, and that will give it a bit more space. So let's see what we got here. Generally, you wouldn't pan your kick and bass. They're good being relatively mono in the middle. Just a little bit of vinyl noise that we can barely hear. Yeah, Gabe's already done a bit of panning, so I'm just going to do this again. Go through this little process. Alright, cool. So, let's have a look and see what we got. Just select it all there. I'm just going to bring this up a little so I can kind of see everything. Well, see more. Alright, let's see what we got here. So, we've got a triangle. We've got a tambourine. They kind of sit in the same range, to be fair with you. So, yeah, let's go one a bit left, one a bit right. Yeah, that's cool. Alright, what else we got? Top loop. That's already kind of stereo. Maybe that can go a little right. Close hat. That could probably go a little left. What else we got? Tam, that's already done. Clap. Oh yeah, there's a couple of snap claps and a snare. Yeah, so let's put this one a bit left and this one a bit right. Yep, done. We've got fills. Maybe they can just stay in the middle. The rim's kind of like a percussion sound, so... Feels like it's got a little bit more space on this side for me. So that's good. So now these will sound nice and stereo. Now we'll come to the synth chords. And we did kind of sort this out before. I'm just going to put one a bit left and one a bit right. Not much. So this one's a bit on the left. And this one's going to be a bit on the right. Means we'll get complete separation. But not that much because it does sound disconnected that way. That's good like that. This one here, it's kind of already going to the side. Or side to side, so that's fine. Vocals are cool. But sometimes vocals are good when they're just mono. So I'm just going to make this mono here. Or maybe this is a bit less wide. because that means you've got something that sounds like it's coming from directly in front of you, and then there's the other sounds coming from the side. So that gives it more space. String's kind of in its own range, so I wouldn't pan that. These effects can probably be maybe a little panned, depending on what they are. Oh yeah, Gabe's already done those, so I won't bother doing those again. So yeah, that's the next thing out of the way, which is great. Then we're going to come on to the master here. And what I'll do before continuing on and actually doing a master is just make the song as loud as can go. So load on your limiter. Like so. And then you can just set the ceiling to 0. That's going to be the maximum volume that the limiter will let come through. And then just turn up your gain until it's just working just a little bit. So I'll do that now. Yeah, see how the little bit of yellow's just coming up there? That's telling us how much it's limiting the song. And it's only doing it a tiny bit, so that's great. Now, when you've done that, what you want to do is jump in and export. And you want to have a listen on some different sound systems. So anything you can get your hands on. So it could be like headphones. It could be, you know, running it through your TV, listening in your car, a Bluetooth speaker, all of that. And when you listen through them, those different sound systems, have a listen to some of your other favorite tracks that you really love and see how they translate as well. And then if anything sounds out of place volume-wise, just make notes, come back and fix it in the Ableton project. And if you keep going back to listen and it still does not sound right, then it's probably certain sound choices are not the best. So that just gives you more of an opportunity to learn from that and either replace sounds on this project or just remember it for the next one and get better for that. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that one. I'll see you in the next video, which will be us mastering this. Cheers.